Welcome to Mainland, your local regional television station, coming to you from the Nelson and Tasman region. In today's news, brazen overnight burglary in Richmond Mall, New Zealand First says ferry cover-up threatens safety, youth sport gets financial boost, and report shows numbers of first home buyers falling. A brazen burglary took place overnight on Wednesday, in which burglars are understood to have broken through the roof of the Richmond Mall. It's understood thieves gained access by cutting through the roof and entering two shops, Cuts at Once and the Body Shop. The burglars are said to have made off with cash from both stores and then left. Police were on Thursday reviewing CCTV footage and were making a number of inquiries. They would be keen to hear from anyone who has information to assist with this investigation. New Zealand First is describing the ongoing ferry woes as a cover-up which threatens Cook Strait's safety. I spoke with New Zealand First leader Winston Peters about the situation. You revealed yet another Cook Strait ferry issue this week involving the Stena Allegra. What's the new problem and what other issues have plagued this replacement vessel?
Well, first of all, it smashed into the wharf at Wellington and therefore is out of commission now. And also, this is a boat that is requiring the use of 20 times more machinery lubricant than the standard ferries that are on the line at this point in time. So one has to ask the question, why did we ever get this replacement in the first place? Because it was never, this is only the latest of problems it's having, and it looks like we're going to have to find a replacement for the replacement.
Dear, and where are things at with the Aratiri?
Well, the Aratiri is now in Singapore trying to fix up the problems arising from the extension of the Aratiri some time ago that also took place in Singapore, against the advice of a lot of experts that it would not work, and they're finding new problems, this time cracks in the rudder stock.
You've suggested the Transport Minister stop KiwiRail running what you say is an unsafe ferry operation, and you're also calling for heads to roll and for experts to be called in to sort out the mess. Who are the experts, and won't this in itself be an expensive exercise?
Well, it won't be nearly as expensive as the lemon that they've got in the Aratiri and now the Stena Allegra, and the loss also of not just cost and time to repair those boats if they can be repaired, and that's a very moot point. The reality is that there's loss of transport as well, and delays on the Cook Strait transport system as at this point in time. So those are huge losses. Getting in somebody who knows what they're doing, it's not going to cost nearly as much as that, and we can move on and maybe do some sound things about finding replacements.
Now, you're describing it as a cover-up and that it threatens the Cook Strait, safety. Why do you call it a cover-up?
Because you recall they were running the Aratiri with just one propeller at one stage, or contemplating that. Now, frankly, that would put a lot of people in danger in one of the most difficult, tough straits of water in the whole world. That's what they were talking about doing, and these things all point to possible safety problems for the crew, because as you recall, one of the lifeboats fell off the boat because the cable broke. These are all standard repair, maintenance operations that are not being done properly. So it's high time that Jerry Brownlee stopped talking to the PR department of Cook Strait ferries and started talking to the people down the waterfront who might know what they're talking about.
KiwiRail's ferry operation is said to have cost the taxpayer around $1 billion since it was bought back, and the government says it will need to keep reaching into the public purse for top-ups for the foreseeable future. Is this acceptable?
Look, first of all, Mr. Brownlee and the government is being totally disingenuous and deceitful. You recall that they flogged off New Zealand Rail, including KiwiRail, way back in 1993 for a bargain basement price of $328 million, and within 3 weeks of the international market finding out about this bargain basement sale, Wisconsin Central Railroad and Fay Rishwhite, the two buyers, their shares went up a massive $188 million. Now the National Party, having run it into the ground via their privatisation, and you recall their shares were above $9 after the 1993 sale, and they fell all the way to 28 cents. That's when Labor had to step in and buy it back. And now the government's trying to blame these present hopeless maintenance and business decision problems on the previous government, almost 6 years ago. Now this is just nonsense.
So is throwing money at the situation the answer, because they've poured $1 billion into recapitalisation, haven't they? Is this the answer, to throw money at it?
Well, it's not so much recapitalisation. What happened was, when the privatisation happened in 1993, they then recapitalised, bled the thing of all its value, and drove the shares into the ground. That's what the National Party allowed to happen. Now they're trying to blame that awful decision that cost us so much, as did having to buy back Air New Zealand, you recall, where the similar things happened. Now they're trying to blame that on the previous government. It just won't wash. Mr. Brownlee's showing his business ignorance and his ministerial irresponsibility in trying to get away with that. What he needs to do is get people into Kiwi Rail who know what they're doing, who've got the expertise, rather than keep people on board who have proved themselves incompetent.
Where are these people going to come from?
Well, they're all over the place. There are a lot of people in this country who've got far more experience than that, and they could have been hired. There are people internationally who could have been hired. But there's no excuse for trying to blame the previous government for problems that have happened on your watch, all as a consequence of decisions that the current management have been allowed to make by a minister who's in charge of transport, but seemingly doesn't want to do anything.
To what extent might this ongoing situation be damaging tourism?
There's no doubt that it'll be damaging anyone who wishes to take a vehicle or to travel by ferry across the strait, because the operation is most of the time, in terms of the regular schedule, not working.
And what about outrightly buying another seaworthy vessel instead of trying to fix what's broken? Would this be a feasible option?
It's looking to be the only feasible option, but this time get people who in the purchasing business who know what they're doing.
Any final thoughts, Winston, on this matter?
Well, this is an ongoing saga, and I think it's high time that the Prime Minister stepped in and said to the Minister, you're not doing your job properly, and nor are the people downtown. When are we going to get some action from the Prime Minister, rather than to smile and spend all his time with the royal family?
The overall number of first home buyers in the property market has fallen by 1.1% nationwide, according to a report, since mortgage lending restrictions were introduced on October 1st last year. 22 areas were surveyed by property data company CoreLogic. The survey shows the percentage of home sales going to first home buyers in the 3 months prior to the Reserve Bank changes took effect, and compared this with figures from December, January and February. In Nelson City, the number of first home buyers in the local market comprise 14.9%. Sport through the top of the South region has just received a big shot in the arm, with Sport Tasman awarding more than $183,000 in Kiwi Sport funding to 35 organisations this month. This is up on the $176,000 approved to 33 groups in the previous funding round in August 2013, and it brings the total number distributed in Nelson, Mulbrat, Kaikoura and Bulla since the government-funded initiative started in 2009 to more than $1 million. More than 200 groups, clubs, schools and associations have received money over this period to promote sport to kids aged 5 to 18 years through a regional partnership fund administered by Sport Tasman. Those receiving funding must contribute to at least 50% of the total project costs, with the percentage rising the longer a project runs. In the latest April 2014 funding round, a near record 45 applications were received, with 35 approved, 4 still under consideration and just 6 declined. Grants approved range from $500 to Bulla High School to $26,390 for Swim Magic, which operates the ASB Aquatic and Fitness Centre in Richmond. Other major beneficiaries were Kelly Sports, Nelson Bays Football, Nelson Netball Centre, Blenheim Rowing Club, Tasman Rugby Union and Tasman Golf. Sport Tasman's General Manager of Community Sports and Events, Tony Thomas, says he was pleased with the number and quality of applications, which was much higher than in the earlier rounds and meant some very good projects were being supported. He says it makes selection more difficult, but the aim is to maximise the number of children involved in the sport opportunities and to do it in a sustainable way. He says priority has been given to developing basic skills, game development and coaching volunteers. Tony estimated the latest funding would allow the various Kiwi sport providers to deliver close to 15,000 sessions and more than 22,000 opportunities to kids, many of them of primary school age. As well as the Regional Partnership Fund, schools also receive Kiwi sport funding directly based on an amount per student. Applications for the next RPF round open in July 2014. For more information, contact Sport Tasman at kiwisport@sporttasman.org.nz or ring 03 546 7910. What to do about legal highs has taken the spotlight recently, with marchers calling for an outright ban the length and breadth of the country held on Saturday. Mainland's Janine Pugh has been gauging public opinion on the subject and on Wednesday had the opportunity to ask well-known local Matt Laurie for his thoughts.
Do you have a personal opinion about legal highs?
My personal opinion is that no good can come from them. I look at them in those little packets. I just see them in the media, and I think, why would you put that in your body, to be honest? I mean, in a way I'm lucky because I seem to have a pretty good relationship with alcohol. I like beer, and I can drink beer apparently without making too much of a fool of myself. But the idea of the synthetic cannabis, it freaks me out, to be honest. It's not something I would do. It's not something, legal or illegal. It's just not something I would actually want to put in my body, and I certainly wouldn't want my friends or my family putting it in their bodies. And I think people have got to consider that just because something is legal doesn't mean it's actually good for you. I mean, cigarettes are legal. They're not good for you. Jägermeister is legal. I don't drink Jägermeister. It's just too potent. And this is the same with legal highs. People have got to engage their brains before they spend money on this stuff.
Sure. So, personal opinion, do you think they should be banned?
It's a tricky one. I think that if they're legal, then you get into some difficulties with the law as to whether or not, if you actually stop them. My personal opinion is, why do we need them? I would rather not see them in Nelson. I'd rather not see them in shops up and down the country. But I do think that is an issue that has to come from central. That's an issue that has to be addressed at central government level. Particularly when you think about how many local authorities we've got. We've got one straight over there, short drive over there, Marlborough. We've got another one just down the road in Richmond. For us to all come up with our own policies on this, to me, just seems a little bit ridiculous. This is something that needs to be, the decision needs to be made about it in Wellington.
Yeah. But the government doesn't seem to be wanting to make the decision on this. They're wanting to pass it back to each individual councils, and there's only 5 councils out of the whole of New Zealand that have actually come up with their policies. So is it time then the government to take this back, do you think, or is it?
Yeah, I would. Do you know what I'd actually like to see? I'd actually like to see some leadership from the government on this issue. This is a national health issue, and it is an issue that should be handled by central government, not local authorities.
An opportunity to visit the Boulder Bank and Lighthouse and learn about the history of this iconic Nelson feature is coming up on Sunday the 13th of April. The public have a rare opportunity for a tour that includes a ferry ride, a climb inside the lighthouse, as well as plenty of stories about the Boulder Bank's important role in Nelson's history and development. The New Zealand Historic Places Trust and the Department of Conservation have teamed up to host the event as part of Nelson Heritage Week. By joining a tour, visitors can learn about the Boulder Bank's geology and formation, ecology and its key role in settlement of the area. Steve Bagley, DOC Technical Advisor, says that Nelson's Boulder Bank is considered to be the largest formation of its kind in the world. He says the Boulder Bank is geologically and ecologically significant, but it also has played a key role in the development of Nelson. Maori and European settlers have benefited from its natural shelter for over 700 years and have left evidence of their use and occupation of it scattered along its 13.5 kilometres. He says it holds many fascinating stories, from Maori camping on it and carrying its boulders into the Nelson Hills to use as hammerstones to quarry argillite, early shipwrecks, sheep stored overnight at Hawlashaw Island, fishermen drying their nets, and the kids and children growing up at the lighthouse to the dredging of the cut. The lighthouse dates from 1862 and was New Zealand's second permanent lighthouse. The ferry will leave from the search and rescue area at Wakefield Quay on the hour at 10 a.m, 11 a.m, noon and 1 p.m, returning at half past the hour until 2:30 p.m. Tours will take 1.5 hours. The cost is $20 per adult, $10 per children 5 to 15 years, and children under 5 are free. Numbers are limited, so please pick up your preferential booking form from the Dock Visitor Centre at the Nelson eyesite or phone 03548 9339. After the break, we'll bring you the latest weather update and some events and happenings coming up from around the region.